Hello and welcome to the video. This is my overview and review of this model here. This is the new Alpha Strike ZOHD model. It's the first model of a standard size from ZOHD that we've had for quite a long time. You've been bringing out the 250 gram stuff, which I've been reviewing. In fact, I've got an entire playlist that you can go and have a look at for ZOHD models specifically, and I'm not a fan of the 250 gram stuff just because personally it doesn't suit the way I fly. They're great as park flyers, but for me I like to go in the middle of nowhere and fly around and have fun. Now this is the Alpha Strike that I was sent for review, so it is a production unit. There are some cool things on here, and it's a very different layout from a lot of the stuff that ZOHD have brought out in the past, so it's a bit of a departure. Now it's the first one of what's called Mark III. It's actually got that written on the model, on the motor. Don't know whether you can read that on the video. So I don't know whether this is the start of a new range of modern models that is coming out. But again, this one's been built around modern FPV, but it's designed really for out and out speed. Now it's got a high top speed listed on the website, and I'm interested to see how it flies, as recently I've been flying lots of wings that have some nice 100 mile an hour plus top speeds. Things like the Atom RC Dolphin that I looked at recently, that is one of my top wings at the moment. Not only can it do well over 100 miles an hour easily, really nice and fun to fly, very stable, but it will also float. Then we've got things like the Diatone Ripper R690, quite a few versions of that from different people. Mine is the Diatone one, the grey one. That is absolutely over 100 mile an hour wing, but that only knows how to go and fly very, very quickly. So I'm interested to see how this one is going to perform, and that is why I've gone to the trouble of also popping in an INAV setup in here, INAV 3.0, because I'm interested in knowing how fast it does actually fly. Not only how quickly it flies, but also how slowly it flies as well. Now this on the website says it isn't really aimed at a new pilot, so I'm guessing that this is going to be a twitchy, fun screamer, or that's what it's aimed at. The motor on this is a 2200 kV motor, 4S. It's a 6x4 prop, I think. We'll have a look at that closer in a second. That kind of setup is very similar to the setups that's on those other two models that I've just talked about. So I don't think this should have many problems at all getting over the 100 mile an hour range. So let's go through the standard stuff. Timecode's down below, unboxing. I'll show you how it goes together. That's a 5-minute job, literally. There's no gluing or anything. Everything is held together by little thumb screws, even the wings. Really cute design things on here. And also then I'll do a quick overview of what I've done for INAV, and then we'll actually go out and fly this thing. So while I unbox it, this is quite a big box. I was surprised at how big this model is. When you see it online, you think it's going to be an awful lot smaller, and because the central body is all one piece and the wings to go on the side and the wing is quite stubby, the box has to be this size. Now it's a bit of a departure in terms of the design for ZOHD. This bag has all of the different thumb screws that keep everything in place. The nose, the wings, and even the vertical stabilizers are all kept in place by that stuff as well. That is a 6x4.5 inch prop. You get a single one in the box. Then these are the wings. Now this is made of EPP, which is pretty standard stuff. There are CG marks under the wing. Servos are pre-installed, and there's nice connectors to connect it all into the body. So as you push it into position, it's all sorted. Leading edge protection isn't huge. It isn't as robust as things like on the AR Wing Pro. I'm guessing that's to keep down a little bit of weight. Wingspan on this thing is 620 millimeters, so that's 24.4 inches. Length is 650 millimeters, about 25.6 inches. The motor on this, as we'll see in a minute, is a 2216 2200 kV, and the supplied ESC, this is a PMP version I've got here, is 40 amp with a 5 volt 3 amp BEC. Now there's two noses in here. This is the first one that has a little piece that you can take out that is there to get a camera in. I'm using a Phoenix two from Runcam in my setup. Then the other nose here is the one that doesn't have any of the cutouts. And again, that slides into the front and is held in place by one of the thumb screws, but it's nice you've got that. Be aware that it is the smaller camera type. Not sure how that's going to work with something like a DJI Air unit though, because I'm not sure how much thought's been put into mounting something like that, but analog FPV I can see exactly how it's going to work. Vertical stabilizers, rather than on previous models been held in by magnets, these are held in by two thumb screws under the body itself. Then we have one single carbon spar that runs through the entire thing to keep it all nice and taut. And then we have the body. And the box is just big enough for the body to fit in. And that's about it, with just enough room to have the one layer of bubble wrap. Very, very good packaging here from ZOHD. Everything has arrived without any damage at all. Now I can feel the electronics are in here. Again, this is the PNP version, so no FPV kit. That is the motor, ZOHD Mark III branded motor. It's a 2216 2200 kV unit. That is the ZOHD branded 40 amp ESC, one of the bigger ESCs that I've seen in their models. And here you can see how much room there is for the battery. So the nose just kind of pushes in like that. Kind of a friction fit. I'm struggling a little bit with this, and I found that this FPV nose just needed a little bit of an emery board on the carbon fiber piece to get it to slide in, so it was nice and easy to pop in there. Interestingly, the other nose is fine, but this one had a bit of a problem, so hopefully yours will be easy. But if it isn't quite fitting, it's no big deal. I actually used an emery file, an emery board that you can kind of buy them in packs for kind of doing your nails. Those are perfect for just kind of shaving a little bit off. Just be careful with carbon fiber when you're using it. Make sure that you're not breathing in any of the dust. However, the other one here, you can see, just fits in beautifully, and again held in place with a single thumb screw. In the back part of the model, this is where the ESC and everything can go, and you can see again the connectors on the sides for the wings to plug into. I love the fact that ZOHD stuff like this. I wish more manufacturers did. Just means that once you've plugged the wings into position, all the electrical connections are made and you are good to go. Vertical stabilizers just have a little tab at the front that you push in and push them down, and again one thumb screw at the bottom will keep them into position. So you could break this down for easy transport, easy repairs and easy replacement. On the other side, we have the holds for hand launching, if that's the way you want to do it. And then at the back, we have the motor mount. These indented pieces are for the plastics that you get in the kit to help protect it in the event of a crash. In terms of building, the manual that's available online, there isn't a manual to build it in the box. But the manual that's available online is absolutely fantastic, and I need to give huge props to ZOHD for actually giving us a manual that's relevant to the model in the condition that I'm getting it. Plus, there's important information in here, like where the CG marks are. I know they're moulded into the wing, but it's nice to have it confirmed, but also cool things like the amount of throws that are needed, and also it's going to need a little bit of reflex in the controls as well. So you just follow along with those instructions on there. Again, there's no glue required, everything's going to fit together, and then it's just a case of attaching these kind of vinyl pieces, I guess they are, onto the parts underneath. The only thing that's worth commenting on with this setup is the motor mount is very different from motor mounts that I've seen on other models from ZOHD. This one has a support that slides into the back and is held in place by a couple of screws. So a little bit of a departure. We'll see how that holds up in the flying in the coming weeks. But it does mean that everything is quite low profile, and the body does come down in size to try and get as much air into the prop as smoothly as possible. Hopefully that's going to help with noise, because the prop is a reasonable amount away from the back of the model, but having it too close is just going to produce a lot of unnecessary noise. So with the motor in place, then it's just a case of figuring out how the ESC is going to fit inside here. Now, the motor wires need poking through the little channel one by one. You can't get them all in. Nice to see the JST lead is on the ESC again. The last model that I had in here from ZOHD was the Dart 250, and they neglected to put that on, and it's a real shame that they did on that one, because having a JST lead just means that if you want to power LED lights or something else, you can just plug them in there. So I'm going to put my ESC somewhere probably like that, maybe, I don't know. If you put the cable through into the cable bay, if you mount your ESC in line with the wing, then there is enough cable. I would have liked to have a little bit more cable on the power connector for the battery, because if you push it out the way so you got loads of room for your flight controller, VTX and other things, then unfortunately it's short by a couple of inches. So that would have been nice to see. Speaking of how I've actually put this thing together, it's pretty standard stuff. I have used a lot of the components that I use in my INAV 3 builds recently. So I have at the front a Phoenix 2 camera. That's one of the mini cameras, a nice performer, fits beautifully into the nose. I have cut a little bit of a recess out, only because the lens on that camera is particularly big. I'm going to run it on a 4S 2200, and then what I've done is at the back, I've used a Maiden F411 WSC, flashed with INAV 3.0. That's connected to an Atlatl HV VTX from Holybro. That is connected to the Menace RC Aero pod that's underneath to try and preserve as much of the aerodynamic nature of the model as I possibly can. I've got a Matek buzzer in here as well, and it all fits in here with absolutely bags of room. There is sheds of room in here if you wanted to use a much bigger flight controller, or maybe one of the larger Matek wing flight controllers. And the reason again that I'm doing it with INAV for the Maiden is because, you know what, I kind of want to see what speeds it flies at, but also I want to see how it handles slower speeds as well, and at what point it kind of lets go and stalls and falls out the air. So with the battery charged and a nice sunny day, it's time to go to the field and see how fast this thing is and how it flies. Now, INAV setup on this is more to give me the speed indication, so we'll definitely get to see how fast it goes and how slow it goes as well. But I have set on my INAV setup a 5-degree offset for the board alignment. That should bring the nose up a little bit. I'm sure it's going to need a little bit of alpha to fly at the slower speeds. And I've also, at the moment, set the control surfaces in line with the wing, not the 3mm up, like it says in the manual, because what I'm hoping is that I can set all that through INAV rather than do it. But of course, if you're not using a flight controller like I am here, then absolutely go with the recommendation, because as you'll see in a minute, that offset is really needed. So all of the other auto launch settings are exactly as the standard stuff that I always use, that is pretty much bulletproof, and away it goes. But it's not climbing like a lovesick angel, as my flying buddy puts it. Hello to Adam. And it's gone into the grass. Now the reason for this, I put my hand up, this is entirely my fault. I didn't put the 3mm up elevator in, and I absolutely should have done that. And secondly, when I realised that it wasn't climbing for the sky, I touched the control, which cancelled auto launch, and then as soon as I took my finger off the elevator, it immediately just went down into the grass. Now the good news is that the grass has done a fantastic job of saving the model and making sure that nothing is too badly broken. The nose is in great condition. However, it has suffered a little bit of minor damage, mostly to the connectors in the wings, but a little bit of hot glue has put that all back together, recharged the battery, and I've also increased the offset a little bit because it just seemed to be struggling to get into the air. It accelerated incredibly quickly, but there just didn't seem to be the ability to kind of pull the nose up and climb. So I have increased the offset from 5 to 8 degrees, and here is the second attempt. Horizon first, see how that goes.
Yeah.
We'll trim in level.
Okay.
And then, if that works, we'll try manual and acro.
Yeah.
So I've got the full trim stuff set. So it should trim for manual flight once it's flying straight and level.
Okay.
And if we get really adventurous, we're going to acro and we'll tune it. But let's just see if we can get this thing in the
Get out of the field. You tell me when you've you're happy with it.
Right, I'm going to go on goggles for the launch.
Okay.
Okay, so get ready to launch.
Engines arm, angle mode, low battery, 30.
Oh.
Okay, she's up.
There you go.
Okay, we're down at 30% throttle.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it the self-level stuff.
Okay.
Because at the moment, she's not flying anywhere near level.
Yeah, it wants to nose down quite a bit still, doesn't it?
Yeah, let me try that again. Let's try and be a bit careful. Oh, that's a bit better.
Yeah, that's good.
We're climbing now. Actually, that looks really good. Right, so we should be also, at the moment it's 60 miles an hour at 30% throttle.
Yeah, it's rapid.
Sorry,
isn't it?
37% throttle. God, it makes a noise, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not quiet.
No.
Let's see if its manual works. In fact, you know what? Let me get some height. There we go. Wow, that was a quick 250 feet. Okay. Let me go manual. Ooh, no, no, no. That wasn't good. Okay. It's not trimmed for manual at all.
No, that is a severe pitch down, isn't it?
That was not happy. Okay, we're just going to fly around then in this mode. We'll see what the speed is like. This is going to need a little bit of work. However, it is very easy to fly, but then at the moment I'm not manual. Right, let's give it full beans. 110, 111. Gee whiz, it's not quiet.
No, it is extremely loud.
I'm a bit annoyed that we're not getting manual trim. Let me try straight and level for 2 seconds and then see if she figures it out. A little white bias. Okay, let me try that again. Ready to catch it?
Manual.
No.
RSSI low.
No.
Yeah.
No with...
no way.
No.
I couldn't see it. It was behind the
No, I
behind the
nearly
hedge.
lost it then. And we're about as high and as far away as we want to be. So I'm coming back.
Okay.
Okay, so we're pulling about 21 amps. We're doing about 90 miles an hour at 65 degrees, 65% throttle. What's it look like?
Fast. Very fast.
Okay, I'm going to try and do some low passes so
Yeah.
you can get some footage of it. But I'm going to have to do that with the throttle really far back. So I'm down, because also I want to see what she stalls at.
Yeah.
Tell you what, should we do that first? So I know how fast I can go past.
I'd definitely be two mistakes high on this one.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a 2 mistake high. Okay, we're now at 300 feet. So let me. So 50 miles an hour, fine. 45. Yeah, she doesn't do slow.
No, still.
Even with the full back elevator at the moment to maintain the nose. About 30 miles an hour. I'm on full elevator. INAV is helping me here, but that's about as fast as I dare. So about 30 miles an hour is about. So it's very similar to the diatone wing. You know, the one that doesn't do slow.
Yeah.
Right, and I've already been through 1,000 milliamps of my battery, 1100 now, and I've been out 4 minutes. So again, this is a fast, short range flight like you stole it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can do a low pass without killing us both. Okay, coming in. A little bit more pitch authority might be nice. Okay, we're going past, this is an 80 mile an hour pass. that look like anything?
It's fast. It looks a bit twitchy.
It is. I'm just a bit sad because in theory I should be able to roll it like this, but at the moment she's not trimming up very well in INAV. I need to have a look at that. But this is just epic fun. Yeah, it's not a floater. It's not long range.
Yeah.
I'm
SSI low.
coming back.
Things it gets very small very quickly.
Right, as a spotter. Okay.
As a spotter, yeah.
That's good to know. I'm gonna bring it in then. This is gonna be exciting. So this is one of those where you have to kind of bleed off the speed and then let the grass catch you. Still 60 miles an hour at 33% throttle. Yeah, this is definitely one I'd want with somebody else with me. Okay, so here I am coming in, dropping the throttle again, 29, still doing 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to cut the throttle and try and drop it in the grass. Here we go. How was that?
Yeah.
So as you can see from that footage, it actually flies really nicely. I had a little bit of issue with trying to get it to do the auto level functions, also the auto trim stuff in INAV as well, so I'll go back and have a play with that. It's definitely one of those that kind of makes me wish I had just gone full manual for the Maiden, but it's useful to have all that information about the speeds. I had this one topping out in that maiden flight about 112 miles an hour. I think if I'd have stayed straight and level and kept the power in, I might have crept another 2 or 3 miles per hour out of it. So it's certainly no slouch, but you do need a little bit of experience and expertise in order to set it up and to get it flying well, because it's nice and responsive. The manual talks about 40-50% expo. That seemed excessive to me, but actually I think that's probably about right. And that 3mm up elevator, just which you need to kind of get that reflex to pull the nose up, is absolutely what you need. Don't miss that part of the manual, and props to ZOHD for actually putting it in there in the first place. It actually shows that they're putting the important stuff in there, that if you ignore it at your peril. The fit and finish on this thing is absolutely what you expect from ZOHD. Everything goes together. The fact it's all held together with thumb screws, the connectors in the wings, just make it a piece of cake to put together and to take apart for transport and storage too. Tons of cooling in this thing. Airflow wasn't an issue. VTX heat wasn't a problem at all. Lots and lots of airflow, but then I guess there's going to be when you're going at 60, 70 miles an hour. Those little ducts are going to pull a lot of airflow through, and that's going to keep everything nice and cool. 2 noses is a nice touch. I'm not sure whether it would be actually good to have 2 FPV noses. That's the thing that's going to get damaged eventually. Great so far with the flying that I've done here. I haven't broke the FPV nose, but if I do, I'm going to end up having to kind of cut out a recess in the other spare nose and kind of poke the cables through to make it work. Maybe having 2 FPV noses would have been a good idea, because this really is, although it talks about it looks amazing to fly in the sky, and it does look great line of sight, it is a great plane for line of sight because of its smaller size and the high speed that it travels at. It gets small incredibly quickly, and that's something that we noticed in the maiden flight. I think it's very, very good to put your FPV stuff on, because even then when you're at the edge of line of sight where you may have an issue with orientation, then using the FPV kit, you know exactly what the orientation is and you can continue to fly. So speed is great. From the testing that I've done here, anything between 30 to about 112, 150 miles an hour is your normal range. It will go down into the low 30s, high 20s, but you're really going to have quite a high alpha to maintain the height. Loads and loads of thrust from that prop, so getting it into the air with that little bit of reflex at the back, that 3mm, and being a knowledgeable pilot to catch it, launches shouldn't be tricky. Once you're in the air, it just goes like stink. Endurance isn't huge. You're going to get about 8 minutes out of a 2200 4S pack, depending how you flew it. On that maiden flight that we've just watched, about 6 minutes, I had this much left in the battery. So there wasn't a ton left. I might have been able to squeak a little bit longer, but this is one of those models that really wants you to fly it quickly and is incredible fun to do so. A couple of things that I would have liked to see on it. Better edge protection for the leading edges, although mine are surviving quite nicely. Something a little bit more robust in those leading edges would have been nice. The unusual motor mount design so far is holding up well. We'll see how it survives some more crashes. Obviously, if there is a blade strike, all of that energy is kind of put into that motor mount, but so far so good. The fit on the slide-in nose is on one of mine, the FPV, wasn't fantastic, but it's not particularly an issue with a little emery board and quick 30 seconds just shaving off a little bit of material. It fitted fine, so just be ready for that if you find that's the case with yours. I think if I was going full manual, I'd have probably put the ESC directly in the middle of that huge bay at the back for electronics, and that would have meant that the wire for the battery connector would have been long enough. However, if you put it where I've put it, out the way so I can get all the rest of the electronics in, then unfortunately it is a little bit short. I personally would have liked an extra couple of inches on that power connector that goes to the ESC, but it's great to see that ESC has that JST lead on it. Props to ZOHD for making sure that that stuff is back, because adding LEDs and other things onto the model, it just provides a very easy access point to jumper off to get power directly to whatever it is you're putting on there. No place for a GPS on this. I had to cut mine into the shoulder of the main body, and it's actually working fine in that position. But to be honest, it could have been mounted pretty much anywhere inside the bay and probably work fine, because as I set mine up with INAV, I don't use the compass with INAV, and that's the big problem when you're putting it closer to other electronics. So in summary, if you are an accomplished pilot and you are looking for something that goes like stink, that's incredible fun to fly, you don't mind about only flying for 7 or 8 minutes at a time, and the sound it makes alerting everybody for about half a mile around that you're flying in that particular field, this is incredible fun. It's an interesting departure from ZOHD that historically have made models with a much wider speed envelope and that are much more forgiving for a beginner pilot. But if you're a beginner, there's lots of other things that ZOHD make. This isn't the one that I'd recommend for you. I'm looking forward to seeing what else ZOHD do in this Mark III series. The way these wings are removable potentially could mean that they could bring out different wings with a longer wingspan that would maybe give it a slightly more floaty characteristic, but this isn't what this model is really about. So I wonder what else they have up their sleeve. I'm going to eagerly await it, because ZOHD do put quite a bit of thought into their models and making sure that they go together and fly great. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that, if you're trying to learn a topic, will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.